I think selling merchandise, selling T-shirts, those kind of things. That's where people do make their money back. But and I'm sure there must be some kind of fairer model. Streaming, most artists make very little, particularly my kind of level. Will make, what is it like? I often say at a gig, if there's like 20 people there, that if everyone could go away and stream my music, they'd own me eight pence.
And I can imagine it's quite a bottomless pit to record as well, isn't it? Because if you need to go back over or mix,
I think it's 1,000. So it's 1,000 streams. That's £4. So you're not going to earn anything there. So it's a way of getting music out there and sharing it, and that's really important. And I think at some stage I would like to make a physical release.
Hi and welcome to Business Rainbows and Unicorns, where there's no such thing as failure if you don't try. This podcast is specifically for business owners or wannabe business owners. Say you've got a side hustle or you've got a passion for something and you think it'd be absolutely amazing, or you see people that do amazing things with their passions and what they enjoy doing. Well, you can do that. So please subscribe and we hope you enjoy listening to this episode. Hi and welcome to Breakout Business Rainbows and Unicorns, where there's no such thing as failure if you don't try. Now today we've got a very special guest who's an expert and a professional in talking into the mic, or should I say singing into the mic. We've got local singer-songwriter Will Ginno.
Hello, Farley. How are you?
Hello. Nice to see you. And thanks for coming on.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. Thank you, yeah. A very happy new year to you.
And you. Let's start the new year off. And should we go straight into it? Whatever.
Even though this won't be the first podcast of the year?
It's not the first podcast.
But Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, it's January. Should we go straight into it? What else is happening this January?
Absolutely, yeah. So, we are releasing our second EP. When I say we, that's I'm in a duo with my dad, Paul. So we're called Will and Paul Ginno. We are Suffolk's premier father-son acoustic sax duo.
Love that.
Suffolk's only father-son acoustic sax duo, but still hold the title.
Yeah,
right.
Take that title.
That's good. Yeah. So we I probably haven't not answering your question here, but I thought I'd just describe a little bit of what we do as a duo. And then
100%.
So we gig all over Suffolk. I'm guitar and vocals and songwriting. My dad Paul plays saxophone. He used to be in a band called Sax Appeal, which
love that. I did not know that.
Yeah, no,
that's a cool note.
Little tidbit there. Yeah. He was in Sax Appeal, but no one would have heard of them, I don't think. But just the name alone is worth bringing up. And he was also in a band called A Light Left On. And he also plays flute and harmonica, so he's a bit of a multi-instrumentalist. He's been playing lots of stuff like that.
So music is in your blood, quite literally?
Not literally, but it is in my blood, yes. Yeah, I mean, that would be interesting to test. Addictive, I don't know how you do that. But, it's in the family. Dad's always played. My sister played a bit, and I think going back, they were the musicians within the family, but... So we've been playing live quite a lot. We play all over Suffolk, into Essex. Played around the East Anglian region and other places in the country. So we're always gigging most weekends. So that's really good. And we're releasing our second EP on January the 17th. Our first EP came out 2023. And this is a new, it's more a double A side in a way. It's two songs. One's called Lover, and the other song's called Soma, Soma. Yeah, I'll probably let you know a bit about those songs. So if you haven't heard it before, here's a little sample of my first release, All Right, Just Fine.
Be long
absolutely love. And if you want to watch my reel that's on Breakout Long and Offered, which uses All Right Just Fine, which I think hit 2,000 views as well.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
My reach.
Yeah. So I'm hoping with my my new release, which is Lover, released on January 17th, you'll be able to have a nice listen to that as well, and stream it. It'll be on Spotify, Apple, Deezer, all the streaming streaming places. Yeah, lovely. Yeah.
Want you alone with me, lover, come be alone with me, give me a time, give me a place, and I will be with
you. Tell us a bit about your background. How did you get, obviously you've got music runs through the family, but how did you get into music and to where you are now? What's the story to get? Because releasing an EP is massive, so not only one but now a second EP, but also you get to gig all over every single weekend. So how did you get to this point?
So I've always loved music. I've always been a music enthusiast, in terms of listening. I've always collected a lot of music and listened to, and that's been my big passion in life. And I started playing guitar. Perhaps I had piano lessons when I was quite young, and I stopped for a period, but started playing guitar when I was about 18, mainly to impress girls.
No.
That didn't work, so but yeah, I just loved playing, and I suppose I live in Brighton. I went to Sussex University. I studied history there, so I didn't really go down that musical route. It wasn't until kind of I had some bit of a setback with ill health. I moved back to Suffolk, and I'd started songwriting, and I'd been playing guitar, and then I was mainly playing solo for a bit. But I think after that, I started playing music with my dad. So we both live in Blandford, and we started gigging together, and then really from there I started writing more. Taking my guitar, playing my singing more seriously.
How do you get into songwriting? Is it just something that comes, or I think because this is so alien to me, give me a spreadsheet and I'm quite happy. But something creative and songwriting, how does that? Do you literally just write words on it, or do you hear a melody? How does that work?
I think that's often a question that people who write songs are asked about. If it's music first, or if it's the lyrics first. I think for me sometimes it's a theme, so I might look at a theme, or I might just hear a melody in my head. So at the moment I've got kind of, not literally this moment, but I've got lots of kind of melodies and things in my head, and I know that I'll need to sit down and kind of put time aside to eke them out and work them out, and and then that's a case of if you've got the musical knowledge, putting chords to it, or using perhaps other instruments to work out the melody. And I think that's so typically I would say for me it's a theme rather than, so for like Lover, one of the songs is about escapism. Soma is more about mental health. So it's having those things and then writing about them, and then normally, so I would get the chords down and then I'd start writing the words, and then from there you'd go and perhaps flesh out the songs a bit more.
Yeah, nice. And how did you come up with Lover and Soma? Was it something inspired? Do you write to what you relate to personally, or how does that work?
They're both quite personal songs, and then that's sometimes a thing when you're releasing music or opening up songs that are very personal. Lover is about it's about my wife. We got married last year. It was my wife Holly. It was so it's about escapism, and I think that's sometimes don't know if it's the same in all relationships. Sometimes there's that idea of just me and your partner, your wife, your husband, whoever, against the world, or just escaping and needing somewhere to escape to. Yeah, and I think it was time I think we'd gone to Wales, to the south of Wales, to like and I remember I was sat on the beach watching my wife swimming in the sea, and there were quite choppy waves, and she seemed really kind of free and really like kind of herself, and that became a lyric in the song, "Under the wave she is free."
Oh, nice.
I was like obviously crapping myself because worried she'd be getting caught off the waves, but nah, she was
all right.
He was all right. Yeah. So so that's right. And it's about kind of going off, and the rest of the lyrics talk about going off and on kind of an adventure. So there's that. Soma's I perhaps need to explain. That's the one song I probably need to explain a bit more. The idea there is about being on medication where you for mental health difficulties. So perhaps something that's been a thing through my life since I've been about 15, and it's been put on where you find yourself on medication where perhaps those highs, well, firstly the lows are taken away, which is great, those extreme lows, but then the highs kind of get chalked off, so you're just left with this kind of middle, and sometimes that can leave you feeling perhaps a bit numb. And I suppose it's the idea of whether that's actually what being alive is about, whether actually really we do need those highs and those lows. I'm not talking about obviously being stuck in depressive episodes, but you're kind of taking the highs and the lows off, and it's
it's appreciating the highs when you've had the lows as well.
Soma was from was a book I loved years ago called Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, and the idea there is that it's a bit of a totalitarian state, but instead of using force to control people, they use medication or drugs. And so Soma was the drug they gave people just to kind of mellow people out, so they didn't, they conformed. And I don't know, sometimes I felt a little bit like that. And I just want to make it clear, I'm not knocking the NHS. I think that as an institution, it's a wonderful thing. And, I think it's some fantastic, people working for it. But sometimes filled with medication, you can't just be put on something, and then there's not always that follow-up as much. And you're kind of left to it, which is a shame because it's such a, it's such a powerful thing for how you live each day. And, and especially, kind of your mind, because, that's who you are. And really... So the song really kind of talks about that bit.
And do you find talking about that and writing it, is that therapeutic to you? Is that one way
I think
that helps you?
It's quite a cathartic experience putting your your lived experiences into lyrics. It depends. I mean, I think there are some things that perhaps I know when things like grief, it may not. Talking about death may not always be, I don't know about this, a good idea to write about, because you're carrying that, if you're singing that song, you've got to kind of relive that when you perform it, and when you...
Yeah, I didn't think of that. You're repeating it again and again and again,
and it's like, so I could go into a pub in, I don't know, Colchester or somewhere, who'd be singing lyrics about really kind of difficult period in my life, and that's kind of like that's a joy, a massive joy killer for everyone in the audience. But we don't do that song so much live, but I think it's important to have those songs. And I know I've listened to a lot of artists in my time who've written about those experiences, been very brave about writing about those, and I'm 43 now, and I think it's really great that people talk more openly about mental health. I don't think that was the case when I was 15, 16, and you'd hear people talking about mental health, but they tend to be extremes. They tend to be people that have really suffered and perhaps even, died by, remember, people like, Ian Curtis from Joy Division, or, it would tend to be very extreme people, whereas I think it's healthy that people are talking about mental health just as you would physical health.
Yeah, and I think it's then being, and I think to me, personally, that's what music's all about. It's being relatable. I mean, there's so many songs about love, and you can always find something, and you know what mood you're in by what playlist you put in. And I think mental health is such a big chat now. Everyone's talking about it. It's nice. It's on the agenda, like you say, that we've always talked about physical health. It's January, everyone's starting at the gym and they've got their goals and what they're doing. But the same is, you need to look after yourself mentally as well. And it goes to what you're telling yourself repeatedly is what you believe, and that's how you're going to live. So like you say, some of those songs, you're not going to want to keep playing them and playing them. But if they're out there online and people can listen to them and relate to them, that then gives them comfort.
Yeah, I think a big thing with music is about connection and about being able to connect with the person that's listening to it, connecting with the person that's made the song, singing, or has written it. And that's quite I think that's where you have to be careful what you write. I think if you've got to be very careful, particularly if it's a vulnerable, writing that to vulnerable people, or it's people in a difficult time. But I think one of the big issues, I always felt this with mental health, is you felt very alone in what you were experiencing because it wasn't talked about. And I think and then you start to feel strange, and I think that's a really damaging thing. And I think, we wouldn't get that it was about a cold, would we? But
no,
God, I can't imagine I've got a cold. I'm going to be stigmatized by society, and my friends will think I'm weird and all those things. So I think it's nice we're in that stage now. I didn't think we'd necessarily get to that stage 25 years ago when I was perhaps in my teens, but that's cool.
Yeah. And how does the process work? Do you write, like, how do you get from writing to releasing? Is there the producing and who's involved? Is it, because this is someone that knows nothing. And I think it's always interesting, and I don't think that's always talked about. And obviously there's so many people that want to get into releasing a song and gigging and music. So how does that?
So a big thing for me is having a really good producer, someone, and for me, I'm really lucky that one of my best mates, Matt Haynes, who's a really, really talented musician and producer, and also a friend. And I think going into a recording studio, you need someone, who knows their stuff and is, very adept at capturing what you want to get across, but also someone that you're going to be in there for like 6-7 hours at a time that you feel comfortable recording it with. And I think that's been really, really good for me, that because like it can be a stressful or intimidating experience, and particularly your because I think when you gig, you're putting on an act and you're performing for a set period of time in front of a group of people, and that's it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think recording, you're really open yourself up to it, and it can be so repetitive, having to go over the same line over and over and over again. And
I can imagine it's quite frustrating.
Yeah, and it's
just like, you've not hit it, or just try it again. Or...
Well, I think it's rare that you get. I mean, maybe better singers than I would get it, first time. But yeah, there's a lot of, and sometimes you actually go into it not really. The song changes a lot in the production process, and you add, So I started with these 2 songs going in with just a guitar and vocals. I knew I wanted my dad to play saxophone or flute on a couple of those songs, but we've added drum beats. Matt is very added great electric guitar, bass, something called an ebo, which is like a kind of, I suppose, a kind of guitar effect, probably best used on Heroes by David Bowie. And just different things crop up, and that's so you need that. You obviously need money to be able to have those session times. You then need to, it needs to be mixed, so you need to make sure that sound levels are correct. Once you've got it, then it needs to be mastered so it sounds the same volume wise as other songs sound on the radio. You've got to bear in mind, and if you're releasing it, you then need to sign up to a distributor so you can release it on streaming platforms, because that's most music is digital now, so you do that.
I saw a funny meme the other day about why are people our age so angry, and it's because we bought vinyl, we bought cassettes with CDs, and now it's all streamed, and we're like, we've been through it all.
But I'm glad I did. I mean, that's something that's
stupid.
Because I think actually, I feel like I think it's wonderful that you can have access to any song in the world at any at the touch of a button. That's amazing, and it broadens your range. But it certainly means a bit more if you own something, or if you've made that conscious decision that you want to spend your money on a record or a CD. That's something really meaningful.
I love a full album as well. I like putting a CD and listening to the full album as well.
Absolutely, and I think that maybe there's perhaps understandably, whilst there's still great music being made, whether we'll look back in 10 years' time and think actually some of the great albums aren't being made because it's not that investment in it as well. And streaming, most artists make very little, particularly my kind of level, will make, what is it like? I often say at a gig, if there's like 20 people there, that if everyone could go away and stream my music, they'd owe me 8 pence. So I was like, if everyone in the world.
And I can imagine it's quite a bottomless pit to record as well, isn't it? Because if you need to go back over or mix,
I think it was 1,000. So it's 1,000 streams. That's £4. So so you're not going to earn anything there. So it's a way of getting music out there and sharing it, and that's really important. And I think at some stage I would like to make a physical release of stuff. So we'll have 2 EPs, but I think certainly 2025 I want to record more stuff and write more.
Yeah.
And go from there. But yeah, I mean, the process is, it depends on what you want to put into it, really. It is great in that everyone can, more people could do it rather than, I suppose in the old days, you'd need, I don't know, it would be much harder. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I suppose it's all about getting it out there and putting so I can't think of the word. What's the word? Exposure. So when you've got that exposure, so now you've got so much more exposure than you had 10, 20, 30 years ago. That whole pros and cons, isn't it? Of like, you're not at a gig and then selling. I know I went to a gig with someone last year, and she had all her CDs and merch and everything. It's a singer from Nashville. In little old Lavenham. Oh. And it was nice though, because my 9-year-old was like, she goes, we can go up and see her, like she's there. It's like, yeah, you can go and see her and then look at her CDs and her t-shirts, and she got a picture with her. It was just that, because it didn't matter what stage. It doesn't matter that it's not Wembley or the O2. It was a singer on a stage, and then Emily got to meet her. And I think you forget that sometimes, because I think people don't see that behind the scenes of just like, do you know what? Actually, this is someone that's putting their heart and soul into music. And
musicians are just, I know it's blatantly obvious. Musicians are just people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
And things like that, but it's just people who pick their noses and burp and all the things we enjoy in life. But
all our hobbies.
Yeah. But and I think that is nice that there is that connection, and that I really like that. I've always really liked that, going to speak with musicians, local ones, or hire and try and talk to them about their music. And and I think certainly like most money probably made is from gigging. Certainly for me, and I think selling merchandise, selling T-shirts, those kind of things. That's where that's where people do make their money back. But we've had it on the news certainly in 2024. There were a lot of big acts that had to cancel their tours because there wasn't money being made, and that perhaps hire in whoever a booking agent or were still charging huge. So there was huge fees charged but the artists were still getting a smaller cut. And certainly true in streaming, and I'm sure there must be some kind of fairer model. For
massively.
But on the other hand, as someone who consumes music, I'm really happy that I'm able to listen to that, and that's really important. I think as a musician that you can then listen to so many different styles, because going back to when I was a young man, I was a teenager, people tended to identify as I like rock music, or I like music, I like...
You're always the genre.
Or particularly or like indie or whatever it was. And maybe there was still an element of that, but that tribalism has perhaps broken down a little bit now, because everyone can just listen to anything and no one's really judging. No one really knows. You can be listening to anything. Liam's over there with his headphones on. He could be listening to K-pop or Lil Mix or whatever
His choices.
Those things there, but
I think I always forget that, because I had my playlists and everything has been such an eclectic mix of one minute I could be listening to Mariah Carey and then the next minute I'm going to see the Foo Fighters and Incubus, so I'm quite varied. So you don't, but I know people get obsessed with certain artists, and I think it's great, and like it's a bit like the whole Oasis tickets last year scenario that
I did have an obsessed fan once, I should say. For the first EP I had, there was one
stalker.
No, there was one person that listened to my song 300 times in like 2 days.
Wow. What was this? What was the first EP? Talk us what song it was, and then we can dissect.
The first song was called "Alright, Just Fine." And that was a song written during one of the lockdowns, and I was like, just probably a lot of people it was the winter on the January 2021, I think it was, and it was quite miserable. My wife just said, "Why don't you write about something cheerful?" So I did, and we wrote. I wrote, just in case she's trying to get a songwriting credit. I wrote.
Sorry, Holly.
All right, just fine. It was about the world has not refused to turn. The sun has not refused to shine. The world has not refused to turn. Kind of the idea that life is going on, and that everything will be all right.
Just to say, I have used that on a reel. So
actually, so it's got a little
say.
So like it's got a nice catchy bit, and I think that's one of the songs I'm most proud of. And we had that, and then the other side was a song called "I Alone," which was a bit more about unrequited love and more my experiences when I lived in Brighton. I think someone listened to it about that.
They needed to know they're all right, though. See, that might have been that might have been someone that needed mental health and a bit of a, do you know what, it's going to be all right.
That's my closest I've come to, like, or a dedicated fan, if you want to call it a stan or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, thank you for those streets. But you can remove the cameras from the bushes and those kind of things if you want.
Pros and cons of being a music.
Yeah, but obviously, like, people who are very established musicians will get dedicated.
Yes.
And I have to be careful, like, if I'm, like, I meet a musician that I really, really, really love, and I almost want to be like, I want to find out why I wrote those songs. But you've got to be, it's got to be appropriate, isn't it? If someone's just come off playing a gig or
there's time and place.
Like that.
But you've got the experience of coming off and playing the gig, so you'd know, like, do you know what? When would I want to be approached? How would it be for me?
But then that's the only time that I in some respects that a music fan would get close to a musician is after a gig.
Yeah.
And I used to do music journalism, and I would try and pounce on the musicians after to get interviews or beforehand. But they're just people who you want to be interviewed straight after you've done your shift at work.
Yeah. Yeah, that would.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the key time, is it?
But on the the flip side is that,
Zin.
yeah, the flip side, you're buzzing, and it's also, it's a lovely thing to think that someone else, going back to what we were saying earlier, connects with
Yeah.
what you're saying. That's a lovely thing.
Tell me about the gigs. You've been gigging for years now, so you're like a seasoned pro at gigs.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the behind the scenes? Because no one talks about turning up, setting up, check-in, and how is that? Do you still get nervous? Do you?
I as long as I've done my prep, I've rehearsed with Dad for, I mean, I have to say, I played a gig New Year's Eve, and I was a little bit nervous because whilst we played a New Year's Eve gig before, we hadn't done the whole Old Lang Syne and the times and everything like that, so I was a little bit nervous. The times I do get nervous is perhaps if I've had like a throat infection or something like that, and it's like, am I going to be able to pull this off?
Yeah.
But we did. On New Year's Eve, we played at the Greyhound in Lebanon, and it was lovely, and it was a really lovely atmosphere and nice people. But so nerves wise, I don't really get nerves.
Nice.
I think I know I know I can do it, and I've done it before. If anything does happen, that's kind of out of my control. I've done my bit, but if I hadn't done that, I think I'd get nervous. There's other things I would get nervous about, but I think there's like an adrenaline thing and an anticipation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes, I mean, it's a gig you're really looking forward to, and that's great. As a gig not, you obviously, I think the thing is, if you've got that gig in the evening, you're thinking about that all day.
Yeah.
So it's like, you've got to be quite mentally adept to switch off and to not think about it. But I nerves wise, not really. I mean, going back to your earlier question there about what else is involved. There's the booking of the gigs. So I have to go and hawk myself round different venues, pubs in Suffolk, and it's been quite fruitful. I think last year we played 39 gigs, which may not sound a lot, but when I was working full time, so that was pretty cool. And I'm aiming to do more this, or as much this year. I'm really excited about 2025 and what it holds in store.
What's the main goal for 2025?
My main goal, I'm going to hopefully be able to have more time to work on my musicianship, my songwriting, and also, the admin side, because that's another thing, is the admin side. And that's where I've come to you, Farley, in your capacity, working in a breakout, and you've been amazing. It's been amazing, your help, because you're as a musician, you're running a business, a small business, and you have to deal with the financial side, and you have to deal with the promotion. I'm not, hold my hands up, I'm literally holding my hands up, saying I'm not great with the social media side. That doesn't come naturally to me. I find it strange, promoting myself in that way, even though I'm literally spent the last however long just talking about myself. But doing that and keep doing it, because it's that thing that perhaps I think we've talked about in the past, that you have to. It's not just a one-off. You have to keep promoting yourself and keep. And you've obviously shown me things. So one of the things we like to get is feedback, short videos from, from people who book us to hopefully show people who are looking to book us in the future, or people who fancy coming to watch us play live, that we put on a good show, which we do.
And social media if you're not using anyone and you're doing it yourself, it's free marketing. So then that's how you've got to look at it. Social media is a platform to get out there for free, in front of the world, because it's everything you put out is worldwide. Yeah,
I suppose you need to be disciplined. It's and you've talked about it's not an overnight thing. You have to. It's a thing that you keep having to drip feed, and then eventually it will. It will get there. And I'm kind of in two minds, because I also obviously we talked about the mental health, but really value my time. I don't think social media is good for us. I don't think in vast quantities. I mean, in fact, just this year I've set timers on my social media. I no longer get notifications, things like that. And so the only real time I'll use on social media probably will be for promoting
Yeah.
what we do. I mean, it's nice to see other people, but everyone's putting on their best face.
I think that's really, really important to note, because even if I'm obviously on social media all day, really, for what we do, but I don't now, and exactly the same, don't really use it personally. I'll post and go if I do use it personally. I'll use it, so I've tailored my timeline for things I'm interested in. So there's a lot of, when I go on there, I'll obviously look at like things like what you've posted and different clients and people I've worked with, but also what my interests are. Do I want to know? And I use it a bit like Google now, like everyone does. You search for events and things going.
Yeah, and it's a great tool. There's so many positives.
100%, but I think it's important to know it is not good for you to sit and scroll, and it is not good for you. And I think this is where what you do is really, really good, because it's real life. So you're posting to tell people, come out the house, like, spend some time off your phone, come and see a gig, come to a local pub, see people in real life. And I think this year we're going to see an upward trend in that massively, Ren, because I think people have almost got and realised it's not healthy to go to work, because you're working with colleagues. Like, you might have a bonus if you work with a couple of friends, but they are colleague relationships. You go home, you see your other half, you scroll, and that's it. And that's your day. And that's not healthy. And I think you're absolutely right. I have a whole love-hate relationship with social media, because I think it's...
Do you feel there's a happy medium, Barley? Do you pick this?
I think there is. I think it's... So I always joke that what you see is what you get. You don't get a highlight reel from me. I post things that I've done and key interesting things, and I've tested social media a lot in the last year of what works, what doesn't, what's popular, what's not.
That's interesting. Yeah,
people don't want to, and it's interesting, like talking about the mental health side of things. If you're really, really low, people almost switch off a bit, but they don't want to. They think, oh gosh, it almost scares them off a bit. However, depending what you share when you're low, if it's a relatable, so going back to obviously ideal for Soma, if it's something relatable, a bit like music, people will message you and then you get... So I shared a story of an issue I had with a friendship group, and I had so many messages. I thought it was just me. I thought, and they completely relate, and people I hadn't heard from in years. So I've done a bit of tried and testing to see what people relate to, because I think there's an avenue on social media, and I think it kind of relates to music, of just, if you're sharing, whether it's a meme, a quote, a bit of music, which you can do, and people relate to it, they'll reach out. And I think that's the important thing on social media. You should be reaching out, but reaching out to go, oh, do you know what? And I had it a couple of times of, oh, we'll share it's almost like you can interact with people. But say, for example, it wasn't your song, but you'd shared, like you normally share and chat and things, and all of a sudden you're sharing a lot about Soma. I would then reach, you're right, Will, how's it going? You're almost like a check-in thing.
Okay.
I think that's the benefit of it. It allows you to check in with someone with just a, hi, how are you? Or what's in it? Or do you know what? Let's go for a drink. It's that other avenue of communication.
Yeah.
Cannot replace social media with real life. I just don't. I think there needs to be more real life. Going out, going to gigs, seeing people.
Also, and being connected to nature as well. You know, we are nature essentially.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel. You know, I love living in Glemsford because we've got the fields near us, and I love taking my dog for a walk, and I love being in nature. And I think it's a danger that we can become so drawn so far away from it, and I think it's a real danger. I was going to say actually about it being January, and I think about, there is a lot. I mean, some of it is medium, some of it has been constructed, the idea of a Blue Monday, but I think certainly that you could have a lot of people feeling very down in January after Christmas.
Oh, massively.
You have financial worries, the weather. It is a time when people could be prone to low mood, mental health difficulties. So, I mean, I think maybe the timing of releasing this song was, perhaps not coincidental. And what was coincidental. So, yeah, maybe it'd be lovely if people, related to that as well, because there are so many people who are on medication for the mental health difficulties.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how do people feed back to you? So what are you going back to being like a journalist and like getting people straight after a gig? What do you like people to do in terms of, right, I'm a fan, or I've come across your music? How do I contact and stalk Will?
So we did have a gig. We played a gig at a care home recently. I really like playing care homes because it taps into my other job. I work for a local charity called the Befriending Scheme. We work with adults with learning disabilities. But we played a care home, and there's a kind of dementia element to it. So some of the feedback I did get, as a lady kind of came up to myself and Dad and got about this far. So I'm indicating probably about, what's that? I don't know. About
Got 5-6 inches away.
And gave me some feedback. And she said, as we were playing, "Shut up. Shut up." Kept saying, "Shut up." So that was nice feedback. Yeah. So that was that. But she,
Pros and cons.
I think she thought I was a son that perhaps she didn't get on with and that. But, you tend to take that with a pinch of salt. But no, I mean, I think
that's why you're not nervous at pubs.
I think so. I think I think it's really important if you are a musician to go through the bad gigs and go through the bad experience. And I often say, like, I've played a gig where I was playing in a pub. There were two people in the pub watching me. One was my mum, one was the bartender. My mum went to do something else. I think the Archers was on or something. She went to that. And then the bartender went down to change the barrel. So I'm literally playing to myself. So it doesn't get any lower than that, really. But
it's character building.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting paid to play. It's free. Yeah, I paid practice in a way. But yeah, I think it's really important to go through those and not to view that as the end of the world. Because I think probably when you're younger, you perhaps think, "Oh God, this is the end of the world. No one likes me," or anything like that. And I guess the saying is social media as well. But if you're building towards something and you can take something positive from it. I keep positives every day. I write positives. I also write a little bit of feedback back from each gig. So, it's a hard process, but doing that. But your question about, how people can kind of give feedback and things like that. After gigs, some people say some lovely comments, and I still write those down just so I remember, and I go back and I think, actually, some people did.
I think that's
I'm doing it for a nice. People did enjoy us playing.
Yeah, it's so not British, but it's so important.
Yeah, and then as I said about getting the quotes from the venues, but that could be a nice. If someone booked us or someone just saw us, that'd be nice to get that feedback. But also, there's constructive feedback. So, like, we played the gig at New Year's Eve, and some of the feedback was that people really enjoyed it, but perhaps it would be better if we had some more modern songs, 21st century off, because most of our stuff is a little bit older. We do some modern stuff, but so that's one of my goals for the year is to work on some stuff. Yeah, or yeah, but that's the thing we were saying earlier, that a lot of the music from this century is and actually has been throughout, but particularly I think in recent years has been by female artists. So that's where if you are a male, kind of you want to cover it, you need to put a bit of a twist on it. Or adapt it vocally, but I really should correct myself in saying that there's always been great music by female musicians. It's just it's not being at the forefront as it rightfully is nowadays. So yeah.
And I think it's finding. I think I don't know. It's how you do your set list. I'm guessing as well of what's suitable, what the crowd like, what the mood is, what the time of year is.
You absolutely have to tailor your set list to where you're playing. So when playing a care home, I went in when I first started playing care homes thinking that we'd be doing Vera Lynn songs and Pat Army, and that generation aren't sadly not with us anymore. So it's more stuff from 60s, 70s, maybe a bit 50s, but yeah, going forward. But yeah, you have to. I think you have to have upbeat songs. If you're playing on New Year's Eve, we had to make sure that our last set had all the upbeat sing along songs, and so yeah, there is an art in putting together your set list and obviously finishing and perhaps starting with strong songs. So one song we typically finish was Baker Street, because that's got the great saxophone riff that my dad plays so well. So we always kind of typically end with that, but sing-alongs, it can be changed by I see Oasis as a band that people are talking a lot about because they're reforming this year. So we've started putting a few Oasis songs into the set. So you have to move with what people are listening to, but not be too defined by fashion trends and like that.
Because it's quite kick.
Yeah, because you've got to do essentially you've got to do the songs you enjoy, because you're doing it, but also balance it with what people will like. So,
do you take requests?
Well, I do if it's something we know. So sometimes I'll plant someone and I'll just get them to
the corn.
Yeah, but then you could, we can always go away and play that song. I mean, I'm not going to learn the Corn 45, but no, maybe that might be tough. But yeah, but that's always cool to hear, because you can live in a little bubble. Spotify is an algorithm, so you very much can be set by your algorithm, and it's that human connection that as you would in the old days.
In the olden days,
people would actually.
We're only 21.
Yeah. Plus VAT. You talk about music and you make playlists and you suggest stuff to each other and go from there. So it's always nice to hear what people like to listen to. And if you do play a song that means something to them, that's awesome. Sometimes you can play a song that can upset someone. It might be a song from a funeral.
Yeah.
So I have to bear that in mind when I'm running my groups with the befriending scheme, that there are songs that we might do as sing-alongs or have as playing in the background that really upset people, and we obviously don't play those. So that's the thing about music; it can have such a profound effect on people in many, many ways, from elation to romantic to sorrow to all kind of things. So yeah, it's really important to just be aware of that and the effect you're having on people, just as your words are.
Yeah. It's funny. There's one song I can't listen to. It would set me off completely, and it trended in a reel last year. So for the time, I was just like, and that got me off social media quite quickly, because I was like, you just don't want that. You're in the middle, especially me looking for audio for work, and I was just like, I don't need that right now. So it's quite funny and I think it's the one thing as well that's absolutely universal. Everyone's affected by music.
There aren't many people you meet who don't like music.
No.
I have met people who I'm not really into music. But most people, it will be. But
they will be. I always think when people think, are you into music? They kind of take that as you go to gigs regularly, you spend a lot of money on music. Back in the day, you buy a lot of CDs. But everyone, because what they're going to... before podcasts, like, you had the radio on, everyone has the radio on. Surely everyone's going to have a bit of a tap and a bit of a nod along to stuff. So I think it's degrees of what you're into.
Yeah, I had a period in my life when I was very ill with mental health difficulties where I couldn't listen to any music.
Really?
And I didn't leave the house literally for a year. I was moved back in with my parents, and I was extremely poorly, and I couldn't do anything, and I couldn't. I was almost trapped in a world where I couldn't do anything, I think, except for watch football.
Oh, wow.
So it would cause me such anguish to listen to music, but someone who loved music so much, and that was torture. But I just couldn't. But it made, when I could then start to listen to music, the songs I started to listen to then really stuck in my mind ever since, because they were like kind of escape. So I think it is rare that people don't like music.
And would you have any advice for people coming out from somewhere that dark, for want of a better phrase, Was there certain songs that you're like, oh yeah, that made?
No, I don't think it was the music. I think I had to be in the right headspace.
Yeah.
For being able to socialize again and be. I wasn't in contact with any friends. I was completely. I can't completely cut adrift, and that's something I've written about in music. I don't know. I wouldn't connect that with music. I mean, but I think that was quite a unique experience. But certainly, anyone coming out from those experiences I think it's. I mean, things I always, for me, I try and look at things I can control, so I can get a good night's sleep. I can meditate every day. So I do, kind of. Religiously, I meditate every day. I can eat well. I can take my pills. I can exercise. They're the kind of building blocks. I can control those.
Yeah.
I can't control if somebody in my family passes away. I can't control if I lose my job or those things. But I can control. I can, and that gives us. I think that gives a sense of. I think that builds confidence and esteem.
Yeah.
I mean, things I do, I keep a daily write down some gratitude. Being grateful, it's really important because it makes you see what you have got.
Yeah.
And actually, it's not, and the danger, again, with social media is you can always see what you haven't got and the lives. And you can compare yourself. And I think, just knowing that comparison is so...
it's the thief of joy.
It's a thief of joy, yeah. So when I do... notice myself comparing, I'll use the word, I'll try and fit in the word and, so it might be like, I don't know, Farley's amazing at her job. Farley is, one of the top 100 small business gliders in the country. And I'm really good at my job at the friending scheme, and I'm a good musician. Putting that and in rather than just, oh God, that person's so great, and I'm rubbish or whatever. It's about thinking about what you've got. So yeah, I'd recommend that. Yeah, but just a general rule: if you notice yourself comparing yourself, you're never going to win because the way your mind is set up is you're always going to. The reason you're doing it is to try and put yourself down.
Yeah.
If you can notice something that somebody else does, and perhaps it's something you'd like to do. Largely, though, someone else has done that because they've worked hard at it and it's something they want to do and they've put time into it. And you should be really grateful that people are like that. I'm really grateful that, you guys are able to do the jobs you do. Otherwise, this podcast wouldn't be happening. Yeah. So, but I mean, I'm not perfect at it, but it's something I work towards to try and have good mental health. I think talking to people, socializing, speaking with friends, sharing your problems. I don't mean wallowing in it. I don't think that's helpful at all to wallow.
No.
I think it's important to be aware of how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And perhaps to look practically at how you can change that. I know you can, because if anyone listening is in a bad situation, I don't know who's listening, but I can say from my experience, I've been at absolute rock bottom. I can't think of a more rock bottom situation from where I was at to having things have come good for me, and I'm really happy about that. But you had to work along the way, but it is possible. It's absolutely possible. There's no doubt about it. It's about having a good support network, and maintaining your mental health, just as you would your physical health.
Yeah.
And especially as we're all doing that. A lot of us are doing that this time of year.
Yeah. All those daily habits, and they all build. It's all building blocks.
That's what works for me, but it will be different from person to person. But that's the advice I would give on that.
And how do you manage in terms of, because I think you've given a really, really good idea of the amount of admin. Like, it's not just, I've released an LP or I'm playing at a gig. There's a whole, there's hours behind it.
Yeah.
How do you manage that as well as a job? Because you've got what I always say a proper job. It's like when I talk about my
So I work full time in the befriending scheme, and we run groups, as I say, adults with learning disabilities. I run 3 groups in Haverhill, and I run 2 youth groups. And then there's some other responsibilities on top of that. So it's quite a busy job. I love it, though. I absolutely love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. I love doing that, but I also love music, and that's where you have to find. I suppose you have to be disciplined with your time to find time to practice, because you've got to practice. I have OCD. Maybe that's come clear. So I practice every day, and I haven't missed a day for 2 years, almost 2 years, and I haven't missed a day's meditation for like 5 years. But that's me. That's the way I work. Other people are. I mean, that drives my wife. I've literally been practicing guitar at 1:30 in the morning, but I have to do it for myself, because I have to know, and I think that's it, like a little bit every day. But this year I'm going to, I'm going to, set even more time aside to do it, because you get out what you put in.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think, and I think sometimes I've noticed from people that when you talk about being a musician, it's seen as a fun thing, and you're doing something you enjoy, hopefully. But then a lot of people do that. A lot of people go into the job.
Yeah,
I'm guessing you two get something out of your job. You would anyway. But I think with musicians, it's seen as having a bit of a laugh or something like that, and it's not, because there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of administrative. There's a lot of selling yourself, and then actually playing, and then you don't just turn up at a gig and leave. You have to get there. You have to sound check. You have to carry all your gear there, set up. You then have to wait around to get paid. I'm not saying it's like going down a pit or anything like that. It's a good job, but there's a lot of work goes into music, and I'm not even, I'm at a certain level. There are people who do it full time who will be doing 10 times more than what I'm doing. But I think you put, so anything you put in, hopefully you get out what you put in.
Yeah.
There's that old idea that you have to master something, you have to put in 10,000 hours of practice.
Yeah.
Something like that. So yeah, I think you have to be quite disciplined about it, and it's hard also, but like being creative with being disciplined, because that's something that is kind of quite a strange experience about having a creative thought comes in at certain times.
Yeah.
You've got to be, it's almost like you've got to be ready. Something's falling from the sky and you've got to be ready with a basket to catch it.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if that's the best analogy.
I like that.
But you've got to be ready to do it. And I might be writing some notes down on my phone whilst, obviously not during working hours, but during whilst you're, I don't know, having your lunch break or something like that. So yeah, this So I love it.
Inspired by everyone and everything around you as well, and I'm guessing that's what part of the process is. It's all those experiences of just what people are saying,
capturing little, it might be a lyric from somewhere. I went to the National Portrait Gallery yesterday, and then there was something that was written on one of the paintings that I found really interesting. So I might be reading a book, I might be watching a film or something, or you might hear a conversation. That can inspire some lyrics in there. It could be another. I was going to say it could be another song, but you have to be very careful what you say about that. Yeah.
Do you because your dad features on the EP, and you obviously gig with your dad all the time. What's it like working with your dad and doing music with your dad?
Yes,
that's pretty special.
He's my dad's awesome. He's it's an interesting thing, because to work with family is something.
Business and family.
Yeah. So you have to have two hats on almost. I don't know, I've only got one at the moment, but like literally, you have to. And some of that can be tricky. Like I'll ring dad up and I'll just be, he's a chap, son to my dad.
Yeah. And
he'll be asking about if I've posted such and such or something like that, and that's not my dad's fault. It's just because that's you need to. Oh, sorry. So you need to almost separate the two things. But it is an absolute pleasure. It's lovely, and my dad's is a very talented musician. And he's got lots of experience playing music, and it's lovely. And I think I'm so proud that we've spent a lot of time together. working together, but also, it's that it creates a really special bond, and it's something. And what saddens me a bit is that it can't go on forever. My dad's 70, and I'm not saying he can't be playing for hopefully a really long period of time, but that's just it's just a fact in a way that is the thing. But living for the moment, I absolutely love it.
It's making the most of the
and
now.
And I love it. And also, my mum and my wife will come to gigs. Again, my mum can be very helpful carrying my dad's gear.
Your dad's got a roadie.
Your dad's got a roadie. Yeah.
Love that for him.
My dad's got a roadie. Yeah, but I think it's a great thing. I'd recommend it to a lot of people as well. And my dad's retired. He's a retired man. He worked as a teacher for 35 years. So this is like a second flush, if that's the term. Second wind. Yeah. Thing that he's doing this, and I know he loves it. He gets a lot from it, and he plays music with other people. He's featured on a culture-based artist called Christopher Wilkinson. He's played with other bands. He plays with does music with his friend Stephen, who's a pianist. He gets a lot from it as well. And but you have to obviously balance that with with my mum as well. I don't want mum to, mum could quite easily be feeling a bit left out of it, and that's where you need to make sure that you've got things, you spend quality time with your other parent, and come up, I can imagine for the rest of the family it can get a bit boring if we're just talking about music all the time. But I'm glad we do. I wouldn't change it for a second.
Yeah,
I wouldn't change it for a second. I think it's really, really important. I think because you know each other so well, and also I feel like you can make mistakes around each other. That's an important thing. So I've never really been in like full bands. I've dabbled in it, but I've never really done that.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's a completely different scenario that you're.
Well, the more people, the more personalities, the more opinions, the more...
Absolutely. But I feel like certainly you're so in terms of being in a duo financially, obviously it's beneficial because there's less people to spread the money around. It would be nice perhaps to have at times different instruments coming in and work with other people, but there's always time for that.
Is that something you're open to, like working with different people and doing different, or just exploring loads of other options? Really,
well, I think recording this second EP, there's more instruments on it than the first one, and I think it'd be interesting to do that live. But I think it would have to be working with the right people.
Yeah.
I think I'd need to be, perhaps at a level where we could certainly do that. And I think it would change your songwriting because you wouldn't just be writing for you and a guitar.
Yeah.
You then need to be thinking about a bigger soundscape. But I think that, it's all part of progressing as a musician, is playing with other people. I've seen a lot of people fall out, friends fall out, and people fall out with other musicians. So that's where. And I think that's true because everyone is invested in a different way.
Yeah.
So I have some reservations about it, but I would certainly, in terms of making the music, exploring things. Yeah, I think that'd be awesome.
And if things come along, they come along, don't they? It's just that right person, right time sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think something I'd like to do this year is write with other people because I've always been perhaps a little bit of a closed book in terms of just writing by myself. All the songs I've written are by myself, with the exception through the Preforming scheme we ran a songwriting project with adults with learning disabilities who would be working with somebody with a learning disability and writing songs there. And
that's pretty cool.
It was amazing. Really,
yeah,
had some really really awesome songs there. But yeah, perhaps working with other people to write songs. I'm part of a songwriting circle, which I really recommend in Sudbury. It's a gentleman called Daniel who runs that, and it's great. You've got a group of songwriters from the Sudbury or Colchester area. There's a different theme every month. We meet at Sudbury Arts Centre. It's the first Sunday of every month, and they give you a prompt, and it's a different one. So, like one of them asked that you get a different word. So it could be water. The last one, the word was probe.
Probe.
So it's like, how do you write a song about a crow without
Wow, that's a
being really dirty?
yeah.
Or
You go a dirty route, scientific route.
yeah, you could just sending a probe up to space or something like that. I mean, my one was like, it was about, I think it was about a particular person who was very famous, and about putting a probe in a part of their body to help them understand who they really were. I don't know if that will ever be released or not, but it was, yeah, it's that idea of,
It's a challenge, that.
yeah, no, it's a real challenge writing this song, and that's nice, keeps you on your toes and writing a different theme. So, it could be, I don't know, we've had lots of different ones about, I think that's a good way of songwriting, is to pick a theme. Talked about it earlier, didn't we?
Yeah.
That theme and then adapting it from there. One idea you can do, I got this from I think it was on the Songwriting Academy that I'd signed up to during lockdown, was that you free write. So you take a theme, then you set yourself 3 minutes, and your pen doesn't look at the page, and you just write down everything you could think of. Say about breakouts, you'd think about everything, about how amazing Farley is, how professional they are, how good value for money they are. I would have really recommend Derek Pab. Everything like that, and then you try to write your song, and you'd have loads to draw from. You'd have those things there. You could Google a phrase or something like that. So yeah, there's different ways of looking at songwriting. There's I think there's a thing called oblique strategies, which Brian Eno, who was in Roxy Music and was a big producer. I'll probably get this wrong, but I think it was a card-based thing. So yeah, you draw on certain cards, and it would give you really strange things to do to adapt your songwriter. So, I mean, a lot, you could look at writing in a different time signature. A lot of songs like 4/4, isn't it, like that? But you could do it like a waltz, or you could do it in something really, like, I don't know, there's a song called Golden Brown, which has got a quite an irregular beat to it. There's some bands like Radiohead do that. Yeah, or you could write it from the perspective of someone else. Or one of my favourite bands, The Kinks, Ray Davies, did that quite a lot. He wrote about characters as well, like writing about characters. A lot of songwriting isn't just you saying that. It is, it's a composite of different people, and you're not always writing about one person. Sometimes you are. Sometimes it's very personal, like,
it's you and your experience.
Yeah. So like Soma is very personal, but there's so many different amazing things you can explore with songwriting.
Does it make it a bit more scary when it's personal? Is scary the right word, or?
I think you open yourself up a bit more. I think if you as a performer, perhaps you harden yourself. I talked about the really bad gigs that you do. You harden yourself up, and then you write a song, and it could be someone's like, "Oh, that's rubbish." That's their opinion. That's their opinion. But I mean, I don't know how would. Yeah, I think most people, if you were singing about something really personal to you, you'd either, I mean, I have a danger of disassociating. I dissociate quite easily from emotions, which I have to be kept, just check myself in on.
Yeah.
That would be a natural thing to do if you're singing about something extremely personal in that sense. But yeah, I think it is harder. But it's still something to do. And I think I recommend people do that if they're writing about songs. Because that's, there's lots of songs out there, but you can only really write about what is true to you.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what makes it unique. Everyone's written songs. There's been a song about everything in the past.
Yeah.
But there's not been a song about how you're feeling in that exact moment.
I remember years and years ago that reading somewhere, the most popular song title was Crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, actually, when you say that.
But that could be crazy in terms of mental health, or that word that was used for that. It could be crazy in terms of love. You had like Beyonce, Crazy in Love. There's an old 50s, 60s song, Crazy.
Yeah, I know the one you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
And there was the narrated part of it. Brittany, yeah. So yeah, that's probably, that's a good word. It's a good word. It's a really good word. So yeah, sometimes it's just finding a word for, I mean, you can do some really random thing. I mean, I took a painting of it was called Totters Mere, which means Dead Sea. And I looked at that painting and I tried to describe it, what song I'm working on at the moment, actually, in terms of what you see in it. And it's basically almost like this, almost need a caption coming up on the screen of it, but it's almost like a graveyard of World War II German bombers. And I've written a song going around that, and that's, it's quite what you see in that picture and what you feel, but often writing about the senses, I think that's something I was taught, I learned from Matt, my friend Matt, is to write what you see, what you can, in that image, what you can hear, what you can smell, and that you can draw upon all of those, and that gives it that descriptive thing, and helps a listener feel like they're in that picture. So that, I think that's where you can be really creative and you can really explore. And you probably not every song is going to be great. I mean, I think Ed Sheeran talked about, like, he saw songwriting like a tap, like you might on a tap, like an outdoor tap, and it would flow for a little bit with not the best quality water, muddy water maybe, and then it just purifies and it gets better. And I think that's the idea with songwriting, but you've got to do it. You've got to go through that process to songwrite.
And there's no ceiling with it, is there?
I was just going to say, I think it's quite hard if you're a perfectionist. Yeah. I think that can be quite destructive, because you then feel like you're not going to write a bad song. It can be easy not to go through that process and you end up doing nothing. And I think I've experienced that at times in my life. So I think it's really important to do that. No, sorry if I interrupt you in there.
Just saying, there's no ceiling, there's no stopping, is there? There's a lot, you literally go as far as you need to go, don't you? It's just nothing.
Yeah, and that's great. And that's a really, really, really nice thing. You can then start to really explore, and so with listening, you can find songs about so many things. Yeah. There can be songs written about things that you just don't realise are actually written about it.
No.
But I mean, everyone, certainly. So there was the Police song of, was it I'll Be Watching You?
Yeah.
Which is like seen as a bit of a love song, but man, that's a creepy song. It's a possessive lover kind of thing. There's a lot of songs that are, and people don't understand I really like that personally, but like I like to find a song, like sometimes I go around down I have gone down a wormhole researching it and finding out about what the song means and when it was written, what was going on in the mind of the songwriter. It's really interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Because you just, it's, like I said before, it must be such a therapeutic experience, and like I think you said, really cathartic to go through and even if it's never going to be made into a song, just to write stuff down, like you say, a bit like writing the gratitude every day and different pieces, and just getting into that exercise of just getting everything out.
It's like start. It can be very frustrating in terms of when you have that. It's almost like I feel like it's like a sense of elation when you start to get an idea and you write a song, and and then finishing it.
Yeah,
that's somewhere it's really hard finishing it, and that's where I learned you can use things I think are called placeholders, where you just put a lyric in. Well, you don't actually know what the lyric is. So like Yesterday by the Beatles, Paul McCartney used the word scrambled eggs. Because he had a dream about the song. It came to him in a dream, but he didn't have yesterday. So it would be scrambled eggs. Da, 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 da. That's a placeholder one. And then you come back to it, and it's like so it's almost like you sculpt something, then you chisel away at it and make it perfect later. Like, for me, that's the hardest bit. That's where I need to, knuckle down on that, I think, a bit more. Because otherwise, there's probably a lot of half songs written. I've got loads of half songs written I'd like to turn into songs. Maybe that's where you take it to someone else. Maybe that's where he took it to Lenny, take it to Lennon or whoever. Maybe George, or maybe even Ringo. Yeah. Maybe perhaps not. But, yeah.
So more songwriting in 2025.
Yep, absolutely.
And more gigging in 2025. Because you get more than 30 for 39. Is there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd like to be gigging every weekend, but obviously, you need to holidays.
What's Holly say?
Yeah. Well, Holly's. I mean, I think
it's night out. It's fine.
Yeah. It was night in. Naturally. Yeah. I mean, I think. there's a financial incentive, obviously imperative to be making money from gigging, and I think so. I certainly maintain gigging. I mean, we've got gigs coming up. January is always a bit quiet, but we have got the EP launching at Coda in Colchester on Friday the 17th of January. But kind of going forward into February, we've got gigs at the lovely pub called the Swan in Little Wardingfield. Actually, we played there recently. That's such a lovely venue. Got a new one playing in Wivenhoe, Black Boy. I'm looking at my notes here. I can't. That's all right.
Look at the notes.
My notes out here. Yeah.
And find all these gigs on social.
Yeah. So if you want to follow us on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, you can see our gig list and hopefully come and watch us play. We're playing. We've got a gig at another care home gig. And then on the 22nd of Feb, we're playing at the George in Cavendish, which is a fantastic place. So really lovely. So really excited about the gigs in February.
George.
Yeah. All those places are nice, and then we're booking. So that's where I need to, really, as I was saying, about hawk myself out there. And we've got a couple. I've got a nice one I'm looking forward to at St Mary's Church in Glemsford on I think it's the 28th of June. Just have to check that date, but in June. And that could be quite a nice one. And then you've got all your festivals as well. So before we've played things like Lee Stock, Viewers Music Festival, Haverhill Show, Ballington Fete, different things like that. We're playing local festivals, but the goal is to keep going and playing new venues. I like playing new venues, but I like coming back to other places that we haven't played before. And that's the thing. So yeah.
What's your ideal venue or festival?
So I say, like, in terms of venue, somewhere that pays well. No, but yeah. I think somewhere where people appreciate the music.
Yeah.
I like gigs where it's not just like completely passive and not completely accepting.
Yeah.
But there's a little edge. Like sometimes I like to play at pubs where there's a little bit of an edge and there's some people who are perhaps a little bit drunk and a little bit of, sometimes a little bit of banter, but not to,
yeah.
I mean, I like to, I don't know, I've spoken to other musicians who feel that they like that edge, that energy at a gig, bit of a pushback, and you have to get, you work yourself up, and I like that kind of side of the gigging as well. But somewhere people like their music and listen, but anywhere that they, we're there to, in some ways it's a service you're doing, you're providing music. People might not also be listening, it might be background.
Yeah.
It's nice when you are listened to. It's nice there, but it's nice when people have a dance.
Yeah.
And it's just it. But I just like playing music, and venues wise, I like to. It's a nice way of seeing Suffolk, is going into different places and playing in different pubs and meeting different people. I really like that. I really like meeting new people. So anywhere really that would be interested in booking us or might be looking for live music would be great. Yeah, so and also outside of Suffolk as well. That's really cool. But yeah, ideal gig wise, just gigs.
So more songwriting, more gigs, anything else first.
Yeah, I mean festival. I'd have to, you also want to play to more people and things like that. And I mean, I'm 43 now, so I'm not going to be playing Glastonbury. I'm not going to be playing.
You never know.
You never know. But realistically, and I think I've always spoken to you about having small goals like this, and I really like that. But also, going from there and taking feeling happy in smaller goals, because I think when a year ago I'd have been really, really happy to have been invited onto a podcast and to be doing some of the things that we're doing at the moment, and then you never know where you'll be in 2 or 3 years' time. You keep doing things, but I think that's where you need to keep working at it. You need to have time to do it.
Yeah,
and do it. But I'd love to play bigger festivals and other designated music venues. So yeah, but I'd say come to our shows, come and watch us, follow us on social media.
See what you're up to.
See up to
stream the music,
stream on music, and come and say hi.
Awesome. So is there anything else more for 2025? Anything else we've not mentioned?
My news goal is forward planning.
Nice.
Because I think a lot of creative people aren't the best at.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily business people. And you probably get a lot of people coming to you partly seeking business support because it's not natural. It's not always a natural thing that someone that's good at creative things is a good business person. But I think it's possible to develop your skills at both. And certainly what I've learned from you. So I think forward planning is my goal. There's always other things. Like I was intending to do 100 press-ups every other day, but I didn't do them yesterday. Maybe 100 press-ups over the year. Of course, a year might be
10 a day.
10 a day.
Small magic all your goals.
Yeah. So yeah,
Smart. Go back to your
smart. Yeah, but also realising you've got the whole year to do it.
Yeah.
I love doing the park runs. So my goal is to beat my personal best, which I set when I was younger. Yeah,
but it's important to have that as well. Not just so it's not just working. It's all balanced.
Value the time. I think be in the moment and value what you've got and to work hard at the things you want to do. And value those that you've got in your life as well. That's a really important thing. And I'm very lucky that I get to work with my dad, and I've got my lovely wife, and I've got my family and really good friends, and and then the people I work with when I do my music, and obviously all my colleagues at the Befriending Scheme. So I'm really lucky. And,
good times. Good 2025.
Happy 2025, Father. Yeah.
I think that's a good point to end on. Happy 2025. So thanks very much.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me on, guys.
Most pleased. And everyone who wants to will be streamed everywhere from the 17th of January. And we'll have all in the show notes as always. It'll be all Will's contact details as well. So whether it's booking him for a gig or streaming his music or just stalking him on social media. So go and take a look and let us know what you think.
Thank you so much. Cheers, guys.
Thanks for listening to this episode. We really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please share with a friend who you think needs a bit of help with starting a business or even their small business, which they've already got going. Please like and subscribe to our podcast, which always helps a small business or small podcast like us. And check the show notes. We all have everything in there relating to the episode, which you might need, might want to read, and links to anyone we've interviewed and certain subjects we've spoken about. And thanks for listening.